As the final roster spots for Will Wade's first-year squad begin to dwindle, there are a couple more names that are still interesting to be in the mix.
You are Locked On Wolfpack, your daily podcast on the NC State Wolfpack, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Wolfpack Nation? It's time to get locked in with Locked On. Thanks for making Locked On Wolfpack your first listen each and every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's Thursday show is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. As always, terms apply. Happy Thursday to all. As always, I'm Grayson Boone, joined by former Wolfpack defensive tackle Kenton Gibbs. Kenton, we've gone at lengths covering the portal news for Will Wade building out his first-year squad. We know what is still the latest on PJ Haggerty in that the NBA Draft Combine will take place towards the end of next week, so I wouldn't expect anything more than likely on Haggerty before that time frame. But there's another name. There's been another name that has been kind of floated out from left field, and obviously it has some triangle interest here. It is Ven-Allen Lubin, who is a forward for the UNC Tar Heels this past season. Now, if you all remember a couple weeks ago, he entered the portal but sent out a tweet saying his full intent was returning to Carolina, but he wanted to enter the portal because of, he didn't explain it very well, but because of the NCAA changing of rules, wanted to do that, and then he was going to return. Well, being that it's been, 3 weeks now, and he has not returned, I'd venture to guess that I think that door was closed behind him by Carolina. So he will not be returning to Carolina. Enter Will Wade. All of a sudden, there's been a little bit of smoke, a little bit of buzz around NC State and Will Wade getting involved. I've also heard Mississippi State. Kenton, what do you make of this? Do you think NC State should or will close the deal with Ven-Allen Lubin?
I'm a little confused here because if he has eligibility left, what would the fifth year have to do with his decision to stay or go?
Right.
Like I'm very confused by that. But even beyond that, with all due respect, I think I'm good. I think I'm all set here. It's one of those moments where I'm like, does he upgrade your backup center spot? Yes, but is the juice worth the squeeze here? Because if acquiring him means that you don't have enough left to go around for a Haggerty or a Williams, do you really want that? I would say a resounding hard pass. Absolutely pass. Now, as Bob Barker would say, if the price is right, come on down, right? Like that's if we're looking at a situation where you're not saying, hey, we're now hamstrung going for one of our big fish, then by all means, hey, come on. I'm happy to have you, but I just don't really see it as a worthwhile investment to bring him in and then be in a situation where you're kind of stuck shuffling for one of the other two. But if you're not stuck shuffling, by all means, hey, I don't think that he's a bad player by any means. I think that he's fine enough. I just don't think that he's the kind of guy that I would miss out on one of the big fish for.
Yeah, so I've gone back and I've found the tweet. So just for your interest, it reads, and I quote, "Before anybody jumps to the wrong conclusion, I am letting everyone know that I'm entering the transfer portal with full intent on returning to UNC. My action relates to the complexity surrounding the possible approval of the pending NCAA settlement," unquote. That is interesting because based on everything I've read here, he's only played 3 years of college basketball. So how does that even apply to him anyway? To Kenton's point, he's not seeking a fifth-year waiver, at least to my knowledge. So why are you entering the portal because of a pending settle? I don't know. But this is where it does get interesting for NC State. On one hand, I do think he would be extremely valuable depth. We're talking about a player that has 3 years of Power 5 experience. He's played at Notre Dame, Vanderbilt, and last year at the Dirty Foot Club. He actually closed this past season with Carolina on a little bit of a heater. I think he finished the last 11 consecutive games scoring in double digits. 4 of those games was a double-double, points and rebounds. So finished on a very strong note with the Dirty Foot Club. But I'm with you, Kenton. I don't know if this is the best of ideas for NC State to get involved. I can certainly understand wanting to kick the tires because, you're bringing Paul Mbia to State. And while he doesn't have college basketball experience, you certainly hope that his raw, untapped potential can be enough to withstand, what is probably a little bit of a culture shock in switching leagues and coming to State. But you still need depth behind him. And Ven-Allen Lubin would be a great choice. I mean, he gives you that experience. He gives you a little bit of flexibility because he's a 6'8" forward, but he certainly has the capability to play center a bit as well. But for NC State, and Kenton basically already outlined it there, if you are to pursue a guy like Ven-Allen Lubin, how does that affect you in the PJ Haggerty sweepstakes or potentially any other players you're interested in? Maybe the international player who's reportedly committed, but we're still waiting for, some things to get sorted out behind the scenes. Would that potentially affect that? Does NC State getting interested in Ven-Allen Lubin, does that mean something has gone wrong? I don't see this as an incredibly likely scenario because of everything we just outlined. If you're getting PJ Haggerty, and by all accounts, it seems that they're very confident in doing so, I mean, that's got to be tying up the majority of your remaining money. And then if you're bringing in the international forward, where does a Ven-Allen Lubin slot in if he's going to be, costing at least a pretty penny on some level as well? I don't know. Obviously, I don't have the finances in front of me either. I don't know what they can and cannot afford, but this seems like it'd be stretching just a little bit too far just for the sake of backfilling in some depth. But I'd happily be wrong. If something else is going on behind the scenes and he does end up in Raleigh, I think it'd be a high quality get, especially at this point. And then, you sprinkle in the rivalry aspect as well. It'd be pretty sweet to pick up some valuable depth off your blue colored neighbors. So this will be an interesting development to follow here in the next couple of weeks. Like I said, I've also heard that Mississippi State would be potentially interested. I think Auburn might be as well because Auburn's still looking around. We saw that James Scott, who reportedly we drew into the portal, has now committed to Ole Miss, so he's off the board. We spoke a little bit about Darrion Williams from Texas Tech. That one, he feels out to me. I think he'll be heavily invested in the NBA draft combine, but I don't know. There's still some swirling going on here. Do they take Ven-Allen Lubin? I don't know if it's the best of ideas.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with you there. And I'll tell you this. At the end of the day, with all of the smoke screens, with all of the who's in, who's out, all that good stuff, our roster is in a good enough spot right now to where I'm like, you know what? I feel good if we don't make any other major splashes. But if we do, I'm also very excited about that. The reality is we have depth, we have size, we have experience. We have, the showstoppers. We have guys that have a defined role, and we have good floor spacing, something that we complained about going into last season. Grayson and I both said, where's the floor spacing coming from? We're undersized and we can't shoot. Well, this year, we do not have those problems in terms of, at least, again, on paper, as this roster is currently constructed. Grayson and I are not looking around like, who's going to get all the rebounds? Who's going to do all the three-point shooting? So, this is just on paper a meaningfully much better team than what we had last year. And so I'm expecting better results. But again, there are more big fish out there to get. I'm very happy with where we are. I would not like to see a situation where you kind of blow it all on a Ven-Allen Lubin and then you're kind of stuck there looking at PJ or Williams, if either one of those guys, when one of those guys decides to come out and they're like, hey, I know that we talked about this before, but hear me out, because I'm not hearing you out because of Ven-Allen Lubin. I'm sorry. I refuse to hear you out on such grounds, with all due respect to the young man. I'm not saying anything bad about him. I'm just saying if I was in a situation of a big-time player that's coming back to college and thinking I'm going to earn, my fair share, and then I come back and hear whatever my share originally was supposed to be was cut. Hey, it's just like any other contract negotiation. It's just like any other job. You're not really trying to hear it, regardless of who the other player is.
Right. And I should have already mentioned, you're looking at basically 3 more spots for State, and you feel like Haggerty's probably one of them. We know about the international guy that's reportedly already committed. I guess we'll see where that goes. That'd be the second one. Then your last spot, depending on how much money you do or do not have left, I don't think it'd be a massive splash, kind of to Kenton's point. I think the biggest names that you're going to see, you already know about. And so I don't think it will be Ven-Allen Lubin, but if it is, you're probably looking at musical chairs between one of the other two that I just mentioned, Haggerty or the international player. So we'll see how this plays out. I think we probably have a pretty good idea that it's going to be Haggerty and the international player. But obviously, as we've all seen over the course of the last month and a half, things can change, and they can change extremely quickly. But UNC's Ven-Allen Lubin is another name to keep an eye on here as we're kind of winding down the final spots on this roster. Coming up next, the ACC has made another decision that some people are unhappy about. The conference is moving from 20 games to 18 games in basketball play. We have thoughts. More on this after a quick word from our sponsors. Our first Thursday sponsor is Gametime. There's simply nothing like the atmosphere of an NBA playoff game. Every bucket, every defensive stop, and every moment, they all feel huge. It's electric inside the arena, and with the help of Gametime, you can be a part of it. Gametime makes it fast and easy to get NBA playoff tickets, even when the demand is sky high. Prices on the app will actually go down the closer it gets to tip-off, and their last-minute deals can help you save up to 60% on NBA playoff tickets. Their all-in pricing feature will show you your total upfront to receive zero surprises at checkout. And as always, you get that panoramic view of your seat in the app before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect upon arrival. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. And again, create an account and use redeem code LOCKEDONCollege. That's LOCKEDONCOLLEGE, Locked On College, for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Middle portion of our Thursday show, switching gears and talking about ACC. Well, not really switching gears, but talking about ACC basketball. I think we alluded to this or talked about it at least a little bit about a week ago, but now the decision has been made official. The ACC is scaling back in basketball play from 20 conference games to 18 conference games. And what that means is teams will now have the opportunity to schedule 2 more non-conference games to help bolster their NCAA tournament profile. We talked about, actually, yes, I do remember us talking about this and saying that not every conference member in the ACC is going to be able to take advantage of this. Like, for example, Duke obviously will. Louisville obviously will. I think Will Wade and NC State will, because Will Wade is very aggressive in the non-conference. But when you're looking at schools, with all due respect, like Cal or maybe SMU or Boston College, they can't stretch out and play like Kentucky because it's really only going to harm them. If they don't win that game, it's not doing them any good. But other schools that are going to be in contention for NCAA tournament spots, this is an opportunity to help them boost their resume. But the other half of this, you're losing some tradition in doing so. Now, the ACC announced that basically each school in the conference will have a partner in which they will play home and homes each and every year. So to the surprise of no one, it'll be Duke and the Dirty Foot Club every year, the fake manufactured rivalry. NC State got paired with Wake Forest. Now, I was kind of hoping it'd be Clemson because of the storyline with Will Wade, but we are paired with Wake Forest, which doesn't move the needle, but from an NC State angle, just go out and beat them twice because that's how you'll help yourself out there. But every school has a partner. NC State will be split from UNC, and what that means is that potentially you'll only play them once, so there's no home and home. But the loophole there is you also have essentially like a rotating partner. There's another school that you can pair up with each year. It doesn't have to be the same team every year, but you can pair up with another school, and that could be a home and home. Kenton, what is your immediate takeaway from this now that the ACC has passed it, and potentially the State and Carolina game will only be once a year?
Well, I think the important thing to consider here is there was, again, according to all the reports on it, there was a second that could be protected rivalry here. So for obvious reasons, I'm expecting that to be us and the Dirty Foot Club here. But even if it's not, even better, because, I mean, think about this. These are 2 programs that are, objectively speaking, headed in opposite directions. 2 programs headed in opposite directions, and guess what? The team that is constantly screaming little brother and all that will be stuck in a situation where either you avoid the smoke with the team that everybody's looking at saying, hey, you should be nervous because of those guys, or you play that game and, you potentially risk getting a floor mop with you twice. So this is absolutely a win-win for the Pack here. I don't see this as a situation where I'm worried about, the rivalry losing its value or worried about who we're actually paired up with and all that, because at the end of the day, the ACC ain't dumb. They know that there are multiple teams in the ACC with more than one school that they're like, hey, we don't like you. Well, good. We don't like you either. And it kind of, works out that way. So in this situation, I think, of course, everybody wants the best friends who are, supposed to be enemies in Duke and Carolina to be together in terms of national media and all that. But everybody knows what the real rivalry is. Everybody knows who is legitimately like, I do not like you. I cannot stand you. The essence of your being, your first steps towards me were on my last nerve. We all know where that is.
Yeah, and, rolling back to a big picture view on this thing, my stance really hasn't changed. I think this move from the ACC, it does reek of some desperation and trying to catch up to the SEC and the Big Ten and stay competitive with the Big 12 and how many teams you get into the dance. Because what is true is that the ACC has really fractured their basketball image these last couple of years. Only getting, 3 to 4 teams into the tournament is a far cry from what the conference used to be year in and year out. So I think what I said last time, I'll say again this time. I understand the use of creativity to try and get other teams bolstered into the tournament. That makes sense, but I just don't love messing with tradition in that you lose the annual home and home, even though I think there's going to be avenues to maintain that. Possibly, I mean, we've talked about the North Carolina government potentially getting involved and mandating that the two schools play each other at least once every single year. You could see that kind of, I guess, button up the situation for a secondary opponent in which it will be State and Carolina each and every year, which, again, that makes all the sense. Everyone in this state wants to see that happen. If you take that away, you're going to hear about it if you're the ACC. This state, everyone knows what it means for State and Carolina to face off each other. I mean, I was looking at Dirty Foot Club fans on Twitter complaining about it too. Like, they want to play us just as bad as we want to play them. Don't let them tell you any different. So I don't love the tradition being moved away from, but on the whole, again, there's only a couple teams that will be able to benefit from this. But I do think Will Wade and NC State will be one of them.
Well, I think everybody can benefit. I just think it's going to be who chooses to benefit. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, I believe if you're playing a quad 4 team, a quad one loss hurts you less than a quad 4 win by too small of a margin hurts you. So everybody has the opportunity. The opportunity is there. This is not, the NCAA saying, hey, or this is not the ACC saying, hey, only a few of you are going to have the opportunity to be better than what is already in front of you. Only a rare little fraction of you. That's not at all the case. It's up to the teams to make the best of it. And I think they will. I honestly and truly think they will.
Yeah, and we'll talk more on Friday about NC State making the most of it. I mean, we have Kansas coming to Raleigh this season, even though that was already scheduled. We're also going to Maui, which is also already scheduled. But you're seeing very early, even before we get to kind of tinkering with things, that year one of Will Wade, you're going to see very tough non-conference opponents because that is his method. That is his method to the madness. He was doing that at McNeese. I mean, he played on the road as McNeese at Alabama last year. He fears no one. And that's the kind of mantra that this program is going to take on. Something like this, a rule change like this, is really only, reaffirming what we were about to do anyway. So I understand from an ACC standpoint. I understand being a little bit pissed about it from a fan standpoint. I don't want to see schools, specifically ours, get split up from Carolina because that is tradition, not just within the conference alone, but in the state of North Carolina. So we'll see how these schools will get creative in kind of resolving some of that. Seeing everyone else essentially just one time a year, it kind of raises the stakes on some of those matchups as well. Like if you only see Clemson one time a year, you're going to want to beat Clemson just a little bit more than you would per se if you get to see them twice a year. And even if we see Carolina once a year, imagine the stakes that get raised on that game. We only see them one time for the whole year. You're gonna buckle up a little bit tighter. Maybe there will be some unintended symptoms that result in a positive in this rule change, but we'll see how it feels, I guess, in year one. I'm still a little bit apprehensive of it, but it makes sense because the ACC, you have got to repair your national brand image if you do want to stay afloat beyond the year 2030. Coming up next, NC State baseball will be on the road in Dirty Footland this weekend, a Thursday, Friday, Sunday 3-game series. This series may determine on if NC State will be a host or not. More on this after a quick word from our sponsors. Our second Thursday sponsor is Amazon Fire TV. Did you know that your Fire TV is also an Xbox? You can turn any TV into your gaming and entertainment hub with Fire TV Stick 4K devices, 0 console required. Just grab your paired controller and subscribe or sign in to Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with EA Play included, and just like that, you're ready to play. You can dive into hundreds of premium titles, including EA Sports College Football 25, all the way down to Call of Duty Black Ops 6 and beyond. Just as easily as you can stream your favorite shows, it's made gaming simple, and it's all on your Amazon Fire TV. With 4K streaming, you can also watch more than 1.5 million movies and TV episodes, all from your favorite subscribed services like Netflix, Prime Video, Disney Plus, Max, and so much more. Head on over to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On in order to get started. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription and compatible controller is required. Available on select devices, including Fire TV Stick 4K, Fire TV Stick 4K Max, and Fire TV Cube. Fire up your Amazon Fire TV Stick 4K today and play your Xbox. Last couple minutes of our Thursday show. NC State baseball will be on the road tonight, probably by the time that you're listening to this. Game 1, NC State against the UNC Dirty Foot Club over in Dirty Foot Club land. This is, there's only 2 series left, but one of the biggest series of the entire season. After last week's disappointment and sliding back down the RPI, they got the road win at UNCW on Tuesday, which brought them back in striking distance. But all that means is you got to win the series this weekend. If you can sweep them, it's a cherry on top. But win at all costs. You have got to find a way to take this series if you want to be serious about being a host.
This series is basically what it all comes down to on multiple levels. If you win this series, you put yourself back in position to be first place in the ACC in terms of regular season. You're in great position to be a team that gets a double bye in terms of the ACC tournament. You need to finish strong. We have played up and down to competition for a lot of the year. Now is the time where you need to reactivate whatever it was that you had rolling for the last, basically 2 months up until last week. You need that back again, because this game against this series against the Dirty Foot Club, a lot is on the line. A lot is on the line in terms of for NC State. I would say the Dirty Foot Club is pretty much locked up hosting. I think that's fair to say. I think that they're in that contingency. You have everything to gain here. Everything to gain, but you also got a lot to lose. Show up, show out, do what needs to be done. And who better? If Elliot Avett has to pump or prime you to get up for this game, go ahead and take that uniform off, son. Go ahead.
Right.
The Wolfpack ain't for you. Go on, get in the portal. Go to North Texas or something. Go to, go on out. I heard Cal baseball is on the rise. Going out there. Because if you need to be pumped or primed to be excited for this, and not just the players, us as fans, you the listener, the Dirty Foot Club land ain't nothing but 30 minutes down the road. If you are not geeked up to support the pack for this one, you know the saying, Wolfpack ain't for soft people, baby. You go ahead, go on somewhere, because this is what you live for. The opportunity to beat those bozos and elevate yourselves into that elite rarefied air of hosting all in one. You gotta love it.
That's a great point about the ACC standings as well. We currently sit at second, and only the top 4 will get that double bye in the ACC tournament. So, yes, this series is extremely important for that, because spots like 5 through 8 are so jumbled up that if you lose this series, you could be second and drop to 6th. It is that tight of a race here coming down the final stretch. So it's imperative that you win this series. Just about everything lies on this series. And what a series to have that be the case for. What else do we have to say to get you ready and amped up for one like this one? These are the types of series in mid to late May that you live for as a college baseball fan. Everything's on the line, and it's against the number 1 school that you hate the most. Ryan Marone will be on the mound for the Wolfpack in Game 1, switching things up a little bit at this point in the year. I don't hate it. In fact, I might even love it. Ryan Marone's been one of our most effective starters on the mound. Getting him to start in Game 1, it gets you that leg. It gets you that opportunity to take one early and set the tone from the first pitch, from the first inning. of this thing. Whether or not that means Anderson Nance will also get a chance to be a starter this weekend, I guess that'll be TBD. The Sunday starter has not yet been announced, so we'll see where Elliott Avent decides to lean for that one. But Ryan Marone on the bump on Thursday evening. Let's go take game one. Set the tone early and let these bozos know what the deal is. If NC State wants to be a host, you got to take this one. That will do it for us here on Thursday. As always, thank you all so much for joining us. Be sure to hit that like button, drop your comments in the comment box. Give us your thoughts on how you would like Will Wade to finalize the roster in the next couple weeks. Do you take a flyer on Ven-Allen Lubin from the Dirty Foot? Would you like to see him in Wolfpack Red and help out that front court? If you would, let us know why in those comments. Anything else you have on your mind, perhaps on the ACC conference rebranding of the rules, 18 games now instead of 20. Give us your thoughts on that. And NC State baseball on the road at Carolina this evening. Tell us your thoughts there. Mash that subscribe button if you have not already. We'll see you right back here tomorrow on Friday for more. And until then, go Pack.
Go Pack.